the original cartoon came out in 1937, and very evidently so. There's a big focus on her love story with a guy who literally stalks her.
Yeah.
Weird.
Rachel Zegler, from Hollywood's golden girl to internet infamy. Rachel Zegler's rise in Hollywood looked like a dream, one of those fairy tales where an unknown talent is suddenly thrust into stardom. One day, she's belting out tunes. On YouTube, the next, she's Maria in Spielberg's West Side Story, winning awards and being hailed as the next big thing. Sounds like a happily ever after, right? Well, not quite. Buckle up, because this story isn't about a princess finding her throne. It's about how one wrong step in the digital age can send you tumbling down faster than you can say, Hollywood darling. Let's rewind. Zegler's career skyrocketed overnight. She became a symbol of Hollywood's push for diversity, a young Latina actress taking on legendary roles. The industry adored her, the fans cheered for her, and she walked red carpets with the confidence of a seasoned A-lister. But as they say, the higher you climb, the harder you fall. And oh boy, did she fall. It all started when Disney cast her as Snow White. A bold move? Absolutely. But not everyone was on board. Fans of the original 1937 classic weren't thrilled with Disney's modern reimagining, and social media exploded with Backlash. Now, here's where things got interesting. Instead of playing it cool, Zegler dove headfirst into the controversy. When questioned about the criticism, she fired back with a now infamous quip, "I'm not gonna bleach my skin for this role." Confident? Sure. Smart? Not so much. The internet doesn't forget. And instead of quelling the fire, her comment turned the backlash into a full-blown inferno. Fans felt alienated, critics called her dismissive, and meme culture took over. But this was just the beginning. Zegler's outspoken personality, once seen as refreshing, quickly started rubbing people the wrong way. Whether it was her political takes or her tendency to weigh in on every controversy, she gained a reputation for not knowing when to step back. And then, the feminist Snow White debacle happened. Disney decided to ditch the classic princess meets prince formula and reinvent Snow White as an independent leader. Zegler fully embraced the change, even going as far as to call the original film extremely dated, while criticizing the prince's role. Fans? Not amused. What was meant to be empowering came off as preachy, and instead of sparking excitement, it felt like a slap to longtime Disney loyalists. Then came the career missteps. Hollywood's golden girl suddenly found herself in a tricky spot. Projects stalled, her social media presence became a liability, and the very industry that built her up seemed to be moving on. In an industry obsessed with fresh faces, new contenders stepped into the spotlight, and Zegler's star power dimmed fast. Here's the brutal truth about fame in the internet age. It's fragile. One poorly worded comment, one miscalculated move, and the public turns on you. For Zegler, it wasn't just one moment. It was a chain reaction of missteps that made her seem out of touch, overly self-important, and worst of all, unrelatable. Hollywood loves an underdog, but a fallen star who refuses to play the redemption arc? Not so much. And let's be honest, there's always a certain guilty pleasure in watching someone who seemed untouchable come crashing down. Meanwhile, Disney's Snow White remake? Well, let's just say it's shaping up to be a CGI-fueled train wreck. The original's whimsical magic replaced with a heavy-handed agenda. And Rachel Zegler? She might just be its most enthusiastic arsonist. And that, folks, is how a Hollywood fairy tale became a cautionary tale. Rachel Zegler versus the internet. How a fairy tale became a firestorm. You'd think playing Snow White would be a dream role, right? A timeless princess, a magical adventure, a Hollywood blockbuster in the making. But for Rachel Zegler, this wasn't a fairy tale. It was a full-blown PR nightmare. And honestly, she didn't just step into controversy, she practically invited it over for tea. Let's talk about the prince problem. You know, the guy who saves Snow White with true love's kiss? Well, in today's world, that's apparently problematic behavior. Zegler made sure everyone knew she wasn't here for the damsel in distress storyline, positioning the remake as a bold feminist reimagining. But instead of applause, she got memes. Oh, the memes! One viral post summed it up perfectly. If you hate Snow White so much, why not remake Frozen and rename it Chilly Independent Woman? Brutal? Yes. Accurate? Also yes. And then came the Dwarfgate saga. Disney, in an effort to be extra progressive, decided to ditch the Seven Dwarfs altogether. Why? Because actor Peter Dinklage criticized their portrayal as outdated. The result? Disney replaced them with CGI magical creatures, instantly sparking backlash from actors with dwarfism who lost out on roles because of this decision. Ooh. So, who got the blame? Rachel Zegler, of course. She had nothing to do with this choice. But since she was already public enemy number one, the internet lumped her into the drama anyway. At this point, the Snow White remake wasn't just a film, it was a battleground for America's culture wars. And speaking of controversy, Zegler's social media presence only made things worse. She wasn't just opinionated, she was firing shots at half the country. One particularly fiery tweet called Trump supporters a stain on America. Cue massive backlash. While some fans cheered her on, others, especially Disney's traditionally family-friendly audience, weren't thrilled. Conservative commentator Megyn Kelly even went nuclear, calling Zegler a pig. Yes, that actually happened. At this point, the Snow White remake felt less like a movie and more like a political landmine. What was supposed to be a modern update of a classic had become a symbol of everything people love or hate about modern Hollywood. And the internet? They had a field day. Twitter, or X, or whatever Elon's calling it this week, exploded with hashtags like #LaunchReplaceRachel. The internet threw out replacement ideas ranging from serious, Lily Collins, anyone, to straight-up trolling. At this point, the studio was probably wishing they'd left Snow White to her eternal nap. So, the big question, will anyone actually want to watch this movie when it finally comes out? One thing's for sure, this Snow White isn't a tale as old as time. It's a disaster for the digital age. And Rachel Zegler, she didn't just poke the bear, she took a sledgehammer to the hive. Rachel Zegler and Disney's identity crisis. A fairy tale gone wrong. Imagine a world where audiences would rather watch an animatronic Snow White than sit through Disney's latest attempt at a live-action remake? Well, here we are. With all the drama surrounding Snow White 2025, some fans are seriously considering just replaying the 1937 classic. At least that Snow White doesn't give interviews. Meanwhile, Disney is stuck between a rock and a woke place. If they swap out Zegler, they'll be accused of caving to an angry mob. If they keep her, they risk alienating their core audience. What's left of it anyway? This is the kind of PR nightmare that would make even Cinderella's stepmother sympathetic. But here's the kicker, Rachel didn't exactly help herself. Damage control? More like damage amplification. Instead of dialing back, Zegler doubled down. She insisted that her comments were taken out of context and that she was simply trying to modernize a classic. Noble idea, sure, but her delivery was more defensive than persuasive, making her look less like a misunderstood actress and more like a PR disaster in the making. To her, part 2 in next video.